So then you have Saturn, which is the accomplishment, the limits, the structure. So Saturn is how much you can accomplish. It's the size of your body. It's the strength of your bones. It's the strength of your teeth. It's the sensitivity of your skin. And I mean, it's that structure of your life. So it could be argued all life is a fight between muscles and bones. You have muscles to push things, and you have bones to hold things solid. So bones resist the movement, and muscles push the resistance. If your muscles are too strong, if your Mars is too strong, you break bones. If your Saturn's too strong, it will restrict what you're going to do when you have a boring life. So how do you get the mixture between muscles and bones? Jupiter is the wisdom to understand what's worth doing and what's not worth doing. So Saturn is the judge. I did this, I didn't do this, I failed, I'll never do this again, or I got a speeding ticket today, or the boss bothered me, or so many things. I got the job I want, or I never get a job I want, so why bother? So each of these planets has a presence that affects the rest of our life. But as we're going out to Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, there are outer things in our relationship to them that are affected, and these things culminate, and we often interpret them in our personal world of Moon, Mercury, Venus as if there's something wrong with us because of what we've been doing. So we're trying to put ourselves together personally to better able to manifest energy, to better able to understand it, to get better results. Well, there's all the healing areas of how to improve your energy, how to put out better things, how to succeed. And up to Saturn, this is normal self-discipline. How do you get respect and honor? Through self-discipline, through working hard and carrying your own work and not draining other people, accomplishing things. So there's many things. Like we're just talking about each one I'm talking about the planetary energies. It's some of the levels of functions. Now, when we take any of these levels and expand them to each sign of the zodiac and each category and how each one works, wow, you've gone from seeing the plant of this one category, of this one planet, to seeing all the flowers and all the different layers of how it can function. And then you begin to eventually see how they come and affect each other. And this is our normal complexity of life. Boy, the magical thing is you can live it without knowing all these things and just get by and be quite happy if you're doing everything right. It's just a natural instinct. But we're so far away from nature that we don't, and not everybody's the same anyways. Nobody's equal. Everybody has different genetic structures and different potentials. So, but Saturn is the basic limits. I mean, Mars is what you can do. Mercury is what you can say, but Saturn's, can you listen? Can you hear? Did you accomplish something? Did you do it? Have you done the necessary work? It's the caution, it's the self-discipline, it's the preparation. Are you prepared to be here now? Well, I could be here now, but no, I haven't taken care of the garbage. I haven't taken out I haven't taken care of this. Oh, I got kids screaming. I got things happening. There's so many things we've done and that we're doing that interfere with our being here now. It's hard to be in the moment and be in control. Or be structured. And when the more structured you are, the better all the other things will work. But it seems like the structure just restricts and limits it because it's expecting you to work too hard. So Saturn can be severe. I don't feel like my bones are aching. I just don't feel like getting up and moving across the room. An old person, some young people. But really, other people, young people, are just jumping around doing everything, and they don't care what they're doing. They don't realize they'll break things or whatever. They have to learn. That's the Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. So Venus, Moon, Mercury, and Venus work together as a team. Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn work together as a team, our social team. And the other planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, are other extremities that come in on top of that. So Uranus, 84-year cycle, it's very unique, but it's 7 years in a sign. It represents the excitement, the things that are different, the things that break the old tradition, break the tedium, something exciting, something shocking, something that changes. If a fire engine goes down the street, everyone's going to run and look. If there's a big crash, everyone's going to look. It's exciting, it's different, something different in the day. So we have a relationship to freedom and excitement and independence. But each of the other planets tends to want you to have it without responsibility. So if you had independence, but you worked to get it, Saturn, you're going to have a much more successful independence. So if you just go out and smoke what you want, do what you want, and let the bad things, bad extremes accumulate, and you haven't been responsible, Saturn, it'll tear your life apart. Freedom can tear your life apart. So everyone needs to have a sense of it, but it's a very cutting edge. It's so Uranus is the principle of excitement and freedom, but it's often rebellion and radical shocks and changes. So wherever we usually see Uranus in the house it's in, because whatever house it's in, we feel unstable about. The sign it's in, we're not unstable about the sign, but we're trying to get our own take or get our own freedom or independence from the sign it's in. So the sign will color the nature of what we're looking for as independence. It'll cover our attitude to it. That's still a strong influence in understanding different people, how they get along. Sometimes it's very difficult to get along with or live with someone that's in your same generation. Sometimes it's easier to relate to someone who has a different sense of excitement than you. 7 years one way or the other. It's more exciting to even know each other. Okay, then words. That's funny that this is coming up in here. It just came off of another slide. I can't fix it here. Okay, so, but the idea of which side of a chicken has the most feathers really is the conditioning factor of the planets. Each planet has to have resolved this question of which side of a chicken has the most feathers. It's the left side, the right side? No, it's the outside that has the most feathers. So if you know what's putting energy out and you know where your inner energy is, you developed a good perspective. And that guiding light may be able to help you through this maze or matrix of energy. But Neptune represents your belief system, your sense of romance and adventure. It's not just excitement. I want to dream. I want to be I want to see the ocean. I want to go to another culture. I want romance. It's the romantic side of things and the adventurous side of things. But boy, when we build up romance, we build up expectations, and if it fails, we get so downhearted. How could it fail? How could it? We get a sorrow. We get confusion. We can be deceptive. We can be dishonest. We can fall away from our dreams. So Neptune, these are not personal factors, this Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. They're personal elements, but they're partly social, cultural functions of a generation. These are generational factors. And the type of independence one wants depends on what 7-year period you're born in, or what sign the Uranus is. And the type of visions and dreams you might have are colored by the sign they're in. So the Neptune and Libra generation from 1942 to 56, that was the dreaming about the marriage. We'll have a marriage, we'll settle down, we'll have, after the war, that was the beautiful thing. Of course, they get to be kind of stuffy, and later the kids growing up and didn't want it. But the Neptune in Scorpio generation from 1956 till 1970, about, from the beginning of rock and roll of Elvis Presley to the splitting up of the Beatles, Neptune was in Scorpio. Sex and drugs and rock and roll were enough to satisfy me. So it was obsessive romance and fascinating, very passionate, very sexual, but very profound in terms of inner discoveries. The Scorpio theme came in onto the Neptune. It was no longer the idealism of Neptune and Libra. It was more passion and lust and who owns who or what's going. So we're going to come to these. But I'm just sort of saying, here's how you begin to make the association. You often see these outer planets more in generational factors, and then they're a nervousness or a spaciness or a temptation, or they come out in various ways in your chart. So now Pluto, the last of the outer planets. Well, not the last, it's the ones that we use. People aren't, science isn't even calling it a planet yet, but we've studied it long enough and watched it. We recognize the time cycle, the presence. And when you've done the categories and checked them all, you realize it's a presence that's there and it works. It gets past the just belief in it. But Pluto is what I call it the auditor general of the solar system. It's the reality check planet. So you have excitement, romance, adventure, then you have the reality check. This is bullshit. This is real. This isn't real. Like, it's the harsh truth. You can go on a beautiful beach, but if you look at it, all the bugs are killing each other. The fish are trying to eat each other. Nature is filled with death. And it's the strongest of the fittest. But really, Pluto, when it's dark, represents fear and confrontation. The fear of Donald Trump, the fear of the world, the fear of the government, the fear of the law. If you're doing something wrong, you're not living right. Boy, it becomes magnified to be the fear. But likewise, you can have something you believe in, and you can be afraid of immigrants or afraid of other people not being here. There's so many ways fear manifests to each person, and there's an individual element to it that you can find from the chart. What's your predisposition? Just because you have that, there's a high way of working with it to overcome the fear, and there's a dark way to fall into the fear. And if you do, if you fall into the fear, if you fall into delusion or expectations, you fall into just excitement, those factors can predominate your whole life for long periods of time and really disrupt it and may take it out of the norm. And then the norm is what's most practical, but that's seemingly boring. So these are the different layers of being, different levels of consciousness. And each one is a different chakra going along our spine. And these are the planets in the solar system. So their depth, they're not just all on one chart, not just on a flat thing and a symbol you're looking at it. They represent so much more living dynamics. And they represent the sophistication of the planets allows us to have that same sophistication about ourselves and our own life. I guess you would put astrology, I think, in mystical terms, it would be understanding the laws of continuity and correspondence, which would be considered right or positive thinking. Anyways, when we get through this and you put them all together, you have all your chakras are all there, and you see the signs of the zodiac filtering them and adding different colors in this. It begins to become a more unique color spectrum. This is before we've even looked at the time of day. So even without someone's houses, without knowing someone's time of birth, you can still get the planets pretty well in the sign and the place they're in, and the moon pretty well placed in. So you can still see all of these planets. You can still do a chart for, say, the middle of the day, say noon, and still see an awful lot of really important things about the person, the more spiritual, or how to work with attitudes, and how to develop them, how to fight a bad attitude, how to reach a kid, to make them develop the good side of their attitude, rather than think their attitude is totally wrong. They have to pick up your attitude, which isn't going to work for them. Okay, so I think that's the end of this. So then we're back, we're looking at a chart, we see the chart, the signs are around it, and each sign, a color expresses it better than the word, but we're using words. We'll see the signs, we see the planets, and we see the aspects. We're looking at a chart, but you should never look at a chart now without seeing it's this accordion that has these layers of depth. It's not just simply one planet going across to the other. It's going up and down. It has the different dimensions of consciousness. Consciousness affect each other. Then you say, what's peace? What's contentment? What's love? Against the background of this. That would be spiritually working a chart. How am I going to get a job? When am I going to get it? How do I get this? What do I want this? That's more mundanely working your chart. You can work it either way. Most astrology is done more mundanely. So, okay.